Cloud. There we go. Okay, we're going to get started with another week of Think Up Thursdays. Again, Brent Germany and Michael McCullough. We are the hosts, and we're both with Real Broker, but we want to invite anyone from anywhere. We just want to give back to our real estate community and share some of the things that have worked for us, and hopefully we can all grow together and learn from one another. As much as we can make this interactive as possible, that's awesome. But as always, we'll post this out to YouTube and get it out to Facebook and et cetera, et cetera. But hopefully we can bring some value today. Today we're going to be focusing a little more. Last week, Michael, we were finishing up on the partner model, and that is something that we will probably speak to every month. But we're going to get more into lead generation today and some of the things that we've done. I feel like as a team leader and a team owner from the beginning days, my background was computer science, and lead generation really came second nature to me. I can tell you where things went in a great direction with that and things that have gone in a very poor direction with that. One of the things that I do not ever, ever, ever do when I'm trying to give any sort of training or knowledge that I have is I'm never going to speak in hypotheticals. I'm going to tell you if something works or doesn't work. And you should also know that something that may work or not work in Dallas doesn't mean that it may or may not work in your market. Some things can be market specific. And so we're going to jump into that, and we're going to jump into some of those things that are without a doubt universal. And so, Michael, is there anything that you needed to add to that at all?
No, I think when we've been on these calls, we've polled the audience multiple times to ask where people are generating their business from. And I think the general thought in real estate is that your best and most reliable lead source will always be your sphere, which we're going to talk a little bit about that and how effectively to work that, because I think a lot of people aren't entirely sure how to approach that. Like, what do I do? Do I make an announcement on Facebook? Like, what do I do? How do I stay in contact? What do I reach out to them about? And so a lot of those questions, we're going to kind of tackle those things, but also as everybody thinks about their own personal business and their business model, we had a coach once tell us, they were like, you have to look at it as like the legs on a stool. And if you're going to diversify where you're generating your business from, what are those four legs? And are each of those getting the same amount of priority week over week? So whether that's for sale by owners, whether that's expired, whether that's generating Facebook leads, whether that's web registration leads, other sources, referral-based sources, what does that look like? And what do you feel like you're able to optimize in your business? And that's a little bit about what we're going to talk about today, is kind of more on the strategic part of that. And Brent, as he mentioned, when I came on board with the team, we were a heavy online lead generation team. And over time, we've morphed to adapt to other things, but he's going to be able to tell you at a high level what has and has not worked for him. And I can tell you from a sales experience what has and has not worked for us and how we've approached time management as it relates to these lead sources. So should be a good discussion.
Yep. So I want to ask a question. If anyone wants to type it in the chat or come off mute, I'm going to start with you. I'll start with me, then you, Michael. Real quick question. Your last three closings, what were the lead sources for those last three closings? And for me, it was Sphere, past client, and lead from a listing. Those are my last three. So it's a little bit of, when you talk about the legs of the stool, I'm hitting a lot of them. So what was yours, Michael?
One of them was, two of them actually were mature web registration leads. One of them had been in our system for a bit over a year and just necessitated a lot of follow-up until the point where she felt like she was ready. She was working through some credit repair things for a long time and finally got her to the point where she was ready. One was another web registration lead that had actually been in our system for about 5 years. So this is somebody that had talked to a handful of people by the time I had an opportunity to talk to them. And one of them was an older Zillow lead as well.
Okay.
And what I've got coming up closing here over the next couple of weeks does consist of some Sphere and some other web registration opportunities as well.
Okay. If anybody else wants to jump in and just let us know, if you can, again, you can put it in the chat if you want, and if not, we'll just we'll keep going. But I think it's good to know where you're doing.
Yes, I'm here. I'm Tasia Van here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. and the my last two came from two of them came from my sphere, and one of them came from social media.
Okay, perfect. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate you sharing that. So, I mean, it's what we're seeing is a mixed bag, and that's what we want to see. And one of the things that I have seen when I started my team is I was very much tunnel vision on generating leads. Again, my background computer science, and this was 2011, I believe, and I was doing Facebook leads and creating my own Facebook leads and had my own. And when I say my background is computer science, I was web development. So I knew how to create websites and I knew how to do all that stuff. And so it was really easy to post these silly little ads on Facebook and run them for like 3, 4 cents and getting leads. And I got sales out of that. What you find though with online lead generation is it's a good idea and it works well at first, and then everyone copies you, and then it's flooded with all different people, and then that usually brings the price up and the quality down. And so and we'll get into paid lead sources and web registrations and all that in a minute. I think where we've also seen, because what is one of the value adds of joining my team? Well, we give you leads. That's a lot of teams that give you leads. um, we have a lot of agents that have come and gone in this business, and working leads that aren't your sphere and aren't people that already know, like, and trust you is hard work. It's not, let me let Omar in. There you go. It's not something that just comes naturally to everyone. And thanks, Jacqueline, past client, family member, friend from church, hygienist client. Love it. Those are awesome. And so what we've seen though with our team, and this is where I speak from experience, and I say my team, you're probably thinking, oh, I'm talking about the agents on my team. I'm talking about myself too. I would get complete tunnel vision on working leads. And when you do that, and Michael mentioned it, the different legs of a stool. And I think that's such a good way to see it. I usually say, what are your different lead buckets? And you need to diversify that. And if you have all of your chips pushed in and you're all in on one thing, well, what happens when that one thing is not going very well? Well, your sales are going to suffer. And so for us, we've tried to teach that diversity, but where we have failed as a team in the past is we've actually overserved our agents with too many leads, and that's all they have time to focus on because there's so much of that. And then they'll sit there and go, hey, you need to make X amount of dials to your database that we're providing you, because if I'm paying for them, I expect you to work them. But it's like, okay, now I've got people I'm talking to, but then more keep coming in. And it's like this, it became this vicious cycle where you couldn't even keep up with it. And if you're paying for something, it's one of those things that you better work it. Now, from a team leader perspective, it's a lot easier for an agent to not care about the expense because they're not paying for that expense. I have had someone leave my team. This is 7 years ago, 8 years ago, and he copied some of the stuff that I was doing and he tried to go get his own leads. And he came back to me. He goes, hey, man, I sure care a lot more now that I'm paying for them. And I was like, oh, you know how angry that makes me that you're just telling me that you didn't care at all, that I was spending money on leads. And now that you're spending, I'm like, oh, what a slap in the face. And that made me so mad. Clearly, I still remember it like it was yesterday. And, it's one of those things, that exact same guy, he was also a comedian, and not a very funny one, I might add. But I would see him in the office, and he would put on like these comedy events, and I'd watch him pour his heart into that, and I was like, where's that guy when you're talking to people on the phone? Or I would hear another person that would be so robotic trying to have a conversation with an online lead, and then I would hear them get off that call and their phone would ring, and it'd be their buddy, and say, oh, what up, girl? And then have this conversation with this person. I was like, hey, who were you just talking to there? My friend. I was like, that's the person that we want on our team. That's how you need, because it's all about relationships. And so Michael's talked in the past about how we work online leads and how we structure those calls and all that. We're not going to get into any of that. But I say all of that to sort of circle back to let's start with the tried and true. Work in your sphere. And so we break that bucket down into two categories. Your sphere, we call clearly it's SOI, but we call the past clients, we call that PCSOI. That's what we call it internally. I know a lot of other people use that term. But I will say that I personally do a terrible job still of calling my PCSOI, my past clients, consistently, but I call them probably more consistently than I even call my sphere. And I think everyone on this call can say, well, Brent, you're an idiot. Why are you? That's the easiest sale you can get. And especially when I just told you my last 3 sales were past client sphere, and the lead that's closing to next Friday is now in my sphere because she called me on a listing and she's moving here and she's a real estate agent and now it's sphere, but that was a lead technically. But when you look at 66% of my last 3 deals were sphere and past client, and I sit there and tell you I still do a bad job of it, shame on me. And I know better, but I think what better way for us to all, and Jacqueline, I see you nodding your head. I love it because y'all call me out because I'm calling myself out. I know where I stink in this business, and I know that my business can be so much better if I would manage that part of it so much better. So clearly your sphere of influence, and what do they say, Michael? They say 6% of everyone in your phone is going to transact this year. Okay, 6%. I mean, I dare people to go through their phones. I have 1,476 contacts on my phone. Okay, let's be honest. We're all real estate agents. There's probably a ton of realtors in there, but and family members who don't live in Dallas. But even if we took half of that, that's 700 people. 6% of that's 42 transactions in my phone. Why do you need leads when you have that? Yeah, I hear you, Jacqueline. Yes, we need to hold ourselves up to that standard, right? So, the and Mark, I see you're wanting to work with lenders soon, so I'd be curious what you mean by that too. If you're talking
I'm
about
asking some questions in the
okay,
chat of people because I think a lot of times people start to wonder,
co-market, yeah,
yes, how do I generate leads with the expense because it can get expensive. And I'm only asking that to kind of pull the audience because there may be a part of this conversation where we talk a little bit about how you can leverage transaction fees or leverage partners to help you generate leads if you're looking at doing that with your business. I know a lot of people don't charge transaction fees, but we do, even if you're an individual agent, the ability to do that, pay for transaction coordination, but also be able to take some of that money and invest it and reinvest it into your business. And so that's why I'm just polling the team. If
Right.
you are also someone that has a mortgage origination license or lender license, we can talk about that too. But yeah, I'm just polling the audience. That's where Mark commented that.
So, and we'll get into that, and I'll kind of shift gears here because I think we all realize that past clients and sphere are your top dog. Okay, but that's one bucket of things, and I past clients and sphere, they need to be treated the same, but I separate them in 2 different categories. I truly do. My mom is definitely different than my past client. So one of them is way more critical. I'll let you pick which one that is. Anyway, the moving on to, I don't want to jump into leads right away. Let's continue to talk about things that don't cost money. Open houses are another great way to go out there and get business. If you can promote your listings, and so open houses and social media are 2 ways to really do that. And I do think that open houses during COVID got really, really hard. I think with the NAR settlement, open houses are becoming a big way to go meet people unrepresented, and that's I always use this, and I don't know if this is maybe because I'm an 80s kid, but I always use that things always come back in style, and I always say the mullet because the mullet's back now. And I'm not gonna rock one. I can't pull that off. I had a rat tail in the 80s. That was pretty sick. But I think that open houses are back and back with a vengeance. And I think that if you're out there, if you are a new agent and you want to get going in this business, you need to, if you're solo and not on a team, I think you need to be with a brokerage that's big enough to have agents with listings who will allow you to run their open houses. I do not think, as a broker speaking, I do not think you need to be running open houses for other brokerages. I think that's a conflict of interest for the seller. And I've had a lot of people email me over the years from other brokerages that have said, "Hey, do you mind if I run an open house this weekend?" I say, "Hey, I can't. I'd love for you to, but I can't let you do it. You're not with my brokerage." There is a conflict of interest there. That being said, that's A, I would find that. And then B, run two open houses every weekend. So you're running 8 open houses a weekend if you're a new agent and that's all you've got. Look, that's the weekends. That's Saturday and Sunday. What are you doing Monday through Friday? Calling your sphere, talking to your people. So doing that, getting on social media. And we're not talking, this is stuff that you can do 30 minutes a day or break out an hour a day of doing that. But I challenge people. It's like if you go run 4 or 8 open houses, I find it hard to believe that you can't pick up 1 or 2 buyers a month from that. And how many of those, and if you're smart about how you're running these open houses and you're not just showing up 10 minutes before it starts and throwing your signs out, you're actually preparing and you're going and knocking on doors and you're telling the neighbors, "Hey, I apologize. I'm running an open house down the street. I'd love for you to come pop by, but just wanted to let you know that there may be a lot of cars on the street today. And if so, I apologize. I'm so and so, and here's my card. I'd love to see you down there." Because what a lot of people, a lot of agents, especially new agents, think they're doing in running an open house is finding buyers. What you're really doing is interviewing as a listing agent with all the neighbors. That's what you need to be doing. And you were there to pick up listings. So doing it the right way, I dare you to not pick up buyers. One of the things my wife taught me was she would actually run the open house and she would, if possible, she would set up her laptop, connect it to the Wi-Fi, have MLS up, and as people were leaving, "Hey, what'd you think?" It wasn't my thing. It's like, "Well, what are you looking for? Let me show you what's available. I have access to coming soon, and you don't have that on Zillow or anything." "Oh, that's cool." And then she would say, "Hey, well, let me send. Oh, yeah, I love this list. Thank you." It's like, "Yeah, let me send it to you. What's your email?" Bam, she's got their email. Okay, using open house sign-in sheet, fake names, fake numbers, fake emails, maybe not, but that way you're actually getting some real information from them, and you're providing a value and a service to them right there on the spot. I think that's a great way to do that. So open houses, I think, are a really great lead source. And I have to be careful when we talk about leads because where we spend money on leads, not everyone has that ability to do that. Um, Jumping into that, I will break down real quick the different lead sources that we pay for. There are ones that are free. There are your referral based lead sources. Zillow Flex is one of them now. We are not a Flex partner. If they gave it to us, would we take it? Probably. Yeah, I say probably. I know we would. Homelight is another one that gives you leads and you pay a 25-30% referral fee. Dave Ramsey is one that we do have. Homelight is one that we do have. Dave Ramsey actually a couple years ago started charging us monthly and 30% on the back end, which I do not appreciate Dave double dipping like that. But it's his business and I'm not going to hate on it. And that's $400 a month. And they've also opened that up to a lot of people. It used to be invite only by production. And I think they've really watered it down. So Dave Ramsey is Homelight. Dave Ramsey, we do not close anything from Homelight. They've asked us within the last 2 months to re-sign a new document that says even if if we give you a lead and they refer you somebody, you owe us on that too. And I told Michael, I was like, "I'm not signing that. There's no way I'm signing that." And or they're changing it up. "Hey, if it's already a lead you had in your database from another source, if you don't let us know right away, then you owe us on." I'm like, "No way." So we just kind of told Homelight, we didn't tell them anything. We just didn't sign it and says, "Hey, we're going to cut you off." I'm like, "Fine, bye." So when I say bye to a lead source, it's not worth it to us. And that lead source was free. And it's because you have to work it and they want you to like update their CRMs and do all this stuff and check in with them. And it's like, I don't work for you, And it got to a point where Again, it was good for a while and then got watered down. So some of those sources I don't love. Facebook is another one. Those are, if you look at paid leads, there are leads that convert faster in the life cycle of the lead than others. Facebook is the slowest. It's just going to be the slowest. And that is why the lead is the cheapest. You can go get a lead for 10 cents. You can. And I have closed those and they do close. But that life cycle is generally over a year. And so whenever you see it's like, hey, I'm going to jump into this business and I'm going to start getting leads. Oh, I get 30 to 50 leads a month. That's a lot of leads. You get 50 one month and 50 the next month. You got 2 months, you got 100 leads you're supposed to be working. What do you have time to do anything else? And then those people were like, you finally have a conversation. Their defense is so high on those leads. They are not going to be, they don't know you from Adam, and they are going to have their guard up and they're going to give you every objection in the book. And you've got to be good at lead conversion to convert something like a Facebook lead. From there, you have your highest converting ones, which is your I call them portal leads, your Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com. And I know Trulia is not really even a thing anymore, but Zillow, Realtor.com, they are the most expensive. Here in Dallas, in certain zip codes, it's $600-700 every time your phone rings. That is wild. And it is lovely when your phone rings and somebody wants to see a house and they tell you their agent's out of town and they just want to get into the house. And you just spent $700 on that phone call. If you are, my opinion on Zillow is this. If you are a team, you need to feed your team. And if you're going to get Zillow, unless you have an absolutely massive budget, they won't give you enough to feed a team. If you are on their Flex program, that is a great way to grow your team. It's a nice carrot for you to dangle, but Zillow is going to take 40%. They're not going to make much, but hey, you can get past clients and you can get referrals, because another one of those big ones we don't talk about that we haven't mentioned is the referral. If you're not going into a client, into a deal, in a transaction, and you're not telling them, it's like, hey, because I'm not afraid to say this. It's like, I'm going to do such a great job for you. When we're at the closing table, I'm going to ask you for 2 names and you're going to give them to, you're going to be like, heck yeah, let me hook you up. You're awesome. And I do that. And I will say, and doing video testimonials it's one of the things that we're just now picking up on. But do reviews right there at the closing table, like, hey, will you give me a 5-star review? Those things matter. Some of those lead sources that people are doing, Google Local Services is another one. Having that online business profile and making sure that you're putting your reviews, your Google reviews matter. Y'all, if you're not calling the co-agent that you're doing these deals with and saying, hey, it was awesome working with you. Let's do another deal together. Hey, do you have a Google profile? I can give you a 5-star review. I'd love for you to do the same for me. That works. So every time you're doing a deal, you should be getting multiple reviews from people. And then it really kind of boils down to, social media would touch on, and then web registration leads. Before we get into that, I do want to talk about social media. I think social media is one of those things where you've got to understand their algorithm. I don't think we're talking about just so many agents post just listed, just sold, open house, under contract. Ugh, it's so much of that. Oh, top producing agent. Boy, everyone's the number one agent in their market, right? And y'all, it's that time of year when all these awards are coming out. I'm seeing it nonstop right now. Everybody's number one. I'm like, you're not number one. Like, I don't say that. Maybe I do. Guess you have to go look me up. But social media is one of those great things that's just an extension. And what we're seeing over the years, again, things are cyclical. We saw the telephone call really go away. We saw email really get spammed. Text message became everything. I truly believe it's going back to the phone call right now. I think people want to have voice to voice. That being said, if you're like, because what are they doing right now with all this TCPA changes and stuff? They're trying to get rid of all the spamminess out of text messages. And that's the reason for it. It's so much spam. It's gross. And we're all real estate agents. How many have you gotten this week on healthcare? How many have you gotten this week on a lender wanting just to buy you coffee because they've heard great things about you? I love that call because I love messing with people because I'm twisted. I love saying, "What great things have you heard about me?" I don't know, and it makes me giggle every time. Um, but I'll give you a quick anecdote on the social media. I was talking to my team 2 weeks ago in our team meeting, and there's a past client that I have not been able to get a hold of, and that's going to happen. They either answer their phone or they don't. I'll call them. I will leave a voicemail, then I'll send an audio text. I will call the husband. I'll call the wife. Sometimes it's the primary. Sometimes I don't even have the number of the spouse. But this person in particular, I had a tough time getting a hold of them, and for a year. And that doesn't mean I was calling them every month for a year. I probably called them twice. Let's be real about it. So I've been recently on a health journey for the last couple months, working out a ton, eating super healthy, no alcohol, anything like that. And I saw her post on her Facebook story. I'm 46, going to be 47 this summer. Yes, I Facebook. I do that more than Instagram. I do that more than TikTok. I'm the old person, but they they were on there and they posted their story, her doing CrossFit in her garage. And when I sold them that house, she had just had a baby and she was carrying around that baby weight. And man, she looked great. And I was like, and that's the thing about someone's story in Facebook and social media. I do think you should go on. Remember to give before you take on social media. Don't go there just to post stuff. Go there to interact and go and if your clients and your sphere aren't on your social media, they need to be, but their stories, their reels, all those things go right into their messenger. Omar's on here. He told us last week where about the threads, Instagram threads, and Omar still haven't gotten that yet, so shame on me. But that being said, and I talked about this uh, last week in this call, is we connected right there because me posting on her and saying, "Hey, man, you're kicking butt. That's awesome. I'm doing this too." And she immediately started talking to me in Messenger. And she won't reply to my text and she won't reply to me. She won't call me back. But when I'm talking to her about something that's of interest to her, I'm connecting with her on a personal level that way. And lo and behold, last Friday, she sent me a text and said, "Hey, we're thinking about selling our house. Can you come over?" Boom. I have not spoken to them since I sold them their house in 2019. It has been over 5 years since I sold them that house. And I'm going to get the listing. It'll be later this year, but I've already run the appointment and it's good. And we talked and we hugged and it was great. And it was just like we haven't missed a day apart because we have our own lives, we have our own little kids, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's just a really good anecdote on using social media to also help you connect with people when the phone call's not working, when the text is not working. It needs to be an extension of your outreach program to your sphere and your past clients because they're giving you a glimpse into their life. When you see that their son won a baseball tournament, talk to them about the baseball tournament. If you run across free tickets to where the double A team here in Frisco is called the Frisco Rough Riders, you get free tickets to that. Put it out there. Hey, you want these tickets? And that doesn't mean you have to go spend money on anybody. You know what I mean? So everything we've talked about so thus far is pretty much free. So must stop there for a second. Does anybody have any comments, thoughts? Michael, jump in, anything like that, because I need to get a drink of water.
Some best practices that I would suggest that I would share with you guys is a lot of what we've been talking about. And so take notes on a lot of this stuff. So open houses, I know Mark asked about 6 to 8 hour long open houses. My recommendation would be not. We've actually explored doing shorter ones, like short bursts, where it's posted and it's like very intentful, like, hey, we need to be in here. But I think how you greet folks at your open house is as important as anything. If somebody shows up to an open house, be like, oh, you guys out looking at houses? Well, of course you're out looking at houses. No, ask the questions like, how did you find us? Was it online or did you just see a sign? And ask a few more open-ended questions about that, like how long have you been looking? What have you been seeing? Things like that, without directly asking them if they have an agent. Because I can tell you that a lot of the folks that I have transacted lately have said that they've just been going to open houses left and right. And to Brent's point with the NAR settlement, a lot of people are getting out there and taking a look at that. Along those same lines, if you're not actively calling or reaching out to for sale by owners, I would certainly do that. Brent mentioned Zillow, and there is a way to pull for sale by owner properties in websites like Zillow. And a lot of people might think, well, I'm not going to do that. That's a horrible place to go to try to generate business. But I think it's all in how you approach them, because these people are probably used to real estate agents trying to convince them to sell their house with them. Now that sellers are becoming more aware that things are negotiable, there's an opportunity to be just helpful. So if you were to call a bunch of FISBOs and just say, look, I know you're probably getting a lot of calls, and this is something that a coach taught Brent and I that he indicated that was working very well. This was one of his, what he would refer to as low-hanging fruit lead sources. He was getting listings left and right. Doing it this way is to have like a for sale by owner packet where you include all of the local contracts and resources on photography and staging and things like that. And you're just calling these folks to say, hey, I'm here just to make sure that you are taken care of and you have everything that you need, and not be off-putting, like trying to get them to just sell a house with you. And if you're helpful in that regard, then it will come off that way. But guess what? If they're selling a house, you might pick them up as a buyer too. So even if they decide, hey, I'm still going to sell this house by myself, well, what's the plan moving forward? Oh, yeah, I'm looking at buying a house. Great. I'd love an opportunity to help you out with that. So you can pick up buyers by calling FISBOs. And Brent's got the website pulled up. I'll let him show that. But I I will say that when it comes to any of this business that you are going out, the free stuff that you're getting, like you're getting information from people at open houses, you're getting people off of social media, you're getting people that you're meeting out in public, that it is so critical that you document this somewhere, even if you have a CRM. We have got a high functioning CRM, but I still use a spreadsheet to categorize people based on their likelihood to go ahead and move forward within a certain amount of time. And the most important column that I've got in there is, when was my last attempt to contact? And if I've got somebody that I feel might transact soon, I'm contacting that person at least once a week. Because the worst thing that I think that you could do is go and run an open house and it goes really well. And then you leave, then you go get food, then you go spend time with the family, then you go to sleep, then you get up the next day, you start doing this. Then all of a sudden that list of folks that you got from that open house are not entered into something where you can track them, and you're not following up in a timely manner. You could sit there and tell people on an open house, yeah, I'll run some comps for this house and send it out to you, and I'll get that over to you this evening. And then you don't get it to them for 3 or 4 days. All of a sudden, boom, you've lost that person. So tracking and documenting and organizing all of this stuff is so critical. And as it relates to Sphere, I think a lot of people are like, well, I have a lot of Sphere, I just don't know what to reach out to them about. Same sort of thing. It should be in a spreadsheet where you're contacting these folks at least once a quarter to maintain communication. But that contact can be a variety of things. You can actually create a matrix and say, of my sphere, if I have them broken down into sub-sphere groups, like these are my bridesmaids or my groomsmen, these are my fraternity brothers, my sorority sisters, people that I socialize with, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What am I going to reach out to this quarter? What am I going to do to reach out to folks that were, like, say, my groomsmen? Well, one of those things in my matrix could be, let me write them a letter of gratitude. I got married like 8 years ago. I could write them a letter of gratitude that just says, hey, just thank you so much for being there for me. I'm not asking anything in return. I'm very direct in what I'm saying and what I'm doing. So there's a way to do all of this stuff with these quote unquote free leads that treat them in a way that you're maintaining the communication with them and being very specific and diligent in it. I would just say it starts with being organized for sure.
Yep. So we'll go jump right into, here's a website that we created that I have hosted. It doesn't cost. I think you get a free website with GoDaddy, but this is something, a little video, and this is what we don't do is, I don't like the gross bait and switch with people. I don't appreciate that when it's done to me. And so when someone's calling a FISBO, oh yeah, I may have I'm not paying a listing agent. I'm paying a buyer's agent. Oh yeah, I'd like to come see it, on the premise that I have a buyer when I really don't. Yuck. I don't like that.
That's bad.
I think coming from a place of helping and of value, And if they hit get started on this, they fill this out and they just type in an email address and it opens up my Google Drive and they can access all the blank documents, all the fillable documents for the Texas Real Estate Commission 1 to 4. It has access to, and this is probably with the NAR settlement, something we need to update, but it has access to our photographers that we use. It has access to really just a seller's disclosure, how we do those, et cetera, et cetera. So it has that paperwork that they need. And now you're coming from a place of being helpful. And then you check in with them like, hey, how's it going selling a house? Was that any helpful? Hey, let me give you some pointers just by looking at your photos. I really think you need to call this person and have your photos reshot. And oh, you're just listing it on Zillow. It's like, well, you can try and sell it yourself and put it in. I mean, there's MLS services where you could pay $7 a day or something like that to have it put into MLS. It's fine. But what you're doing is you're building that relationship with people for free. You're not being gross. The way that we were taught to do this was actually to come bring all these documents by their house. I think that's if you live in a smaller metro, we live in a huge metroplex, so it's hard for us to do that everywhere. We could narrow it down to a geographic region and go drop this off. Hey, I'd love to drop this off. But people want easy. People are more saying yes to this than anything else. So this is something that you could definitely do, and it's not sleazy and gross. But a lot of times, I could make up the percentage right now on how many FSBOs end up using an agent. I could make up some stat. Let's say 50%. I just made it up. Who knows if that's true or not? But I know that there is a pretty good percentage that do end up using an agent. And if you're the one that's being helpful and not pushy and you have commission breath, then you've got a good shot at picking up those listings. So, and if you and look, I'm not going to tell you to diminish your value. And I always do 3% on my side. Cool, great. That's you do you. If somebody's like, hey, I'll let you list it. I only want to do a total of 5%. A sign in the yard is better than a sign in your car all day long. And when you can run open houses and you can get sign calls and all those other things from that listing, I'd take it. So, it can be dependent. I write things into my listing agreement. If they terminate the listing earlier, if it doesn't sell, if they don't agree to price changes and things like that, or if they want to overprice it, like they're paying me back for my marketing that I spent, and that happens. So, we do that transaction fee of $495 on every deal we do. And so, except it when it's VA because it's not allowed with VA. So that's a good way to get a little bit of I mean it's considered additional commission, but that $495 pays for a transaction coordinator for us. It's photos on listings, but more than anything else, it just pays for that time. So, but if you're a single agent and you do 2 deals a month, $495 is putting $1,000 in your pocket. What could you do with that extra $1,000? So it's there's a lot you can do with that. And when you're doing 20 deals a month, that $495 is pretty nice and pays for a lot of stuff. And the way we present that, and I really don't want to, Michael, I don't know if we want to get into that. If anyone has questions, they can reach out to us. Clearly, you can see on the screen our email addresses are right there. But if you want to know how we frame that, because it's in the buyer rep, it's in the listing agreement, we're happy to share that. It's just a part of doing business. So
one thing I will say to that topic is, and this could be something that we could have a much more robust conversation on, but if you do start generating transaction fees, and like Mark, you mentioned that you were thinking about starting to work with a lender, leveraging your partners. If you guys have not already established a partner for your listings, like a title partner or something like that, those businesses want more business. And so they're more likely to work with you on certain things if you can bring to them a solid idea. So if you transacted even 10 deals a year, and you charged, like, for example, $500 in a transaction fee on your buyers or your sellers, it's obviously going to help offset the expense of photos and marketing and stuff like that. But if you took out half of that to pay a transaction coordinator and you kept another half of it, that's about $2,500 if you transacted 10 deals a year. And if you broke that up into 2 quarters, you had $1,250. to where you have either past clients or sphere that you have it documented in a spreadsheet that shows like similarities. Like, we're in DFW, there's no lack of sports opportunities. Some of you are in big markets where there's major sports or there's activities or something like that. You just reach out to one of your partners, one of your leverage partners, and say, hey, look, will you go halvesies on an event like a Top Golf? Let's rent it out. I've got a lot of people that like golf. I'd like to get these people together or something like that, and put those events on and invite people and use that as a lead generating type of event that you are putting on for your past clients or your people that you're prospecting, your sphere. So there's a big batch of creativity that's out there that I don't know that we understand consistently how we can tap into, but for solo agents, thinking about things like that is going to be important. But again, it's documenting. You have anybody in your sphere, who all are you marking that may be Carolina Panthers fans or New York Giants fans or Texas Rangers fans or whatever. And if something comes up where you get access to some tickets, like what Brent said, or you reach out to a lender partner that's co-marketing with you, hey, I'd like to put on an event. Can we get a suite or something like that? And then invite those VIP clients that you think are going to generate you some more business. So there's a lot of that type of stuff that can be done that will mitigate cost, but also, be a lot of fun and hopefully
Yep.
be fruitful. So.
Yep. And it could be a happy hour. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Something easy, a little quick happy hour. And all you have to do is ask. I can tell you right now, if you have a favorite lender, and Felicia, it looks like you might be a loan officer. Is that right? Yeah. So you send someone 10, 15 deals a year, they're going to be more than happy to reciprocate that. It's it's like it's not a what have you done for me lately. It's like I'm doing a lot for you actually. So it's just an ask, and you're gonna find out how easy that ask really is, as long as there is reciprocity with each other, and you're each helping each other be success. And that I really truly think a good lender, a good title partner, things like that are very important, because that person is they're going to help cross sell you. You want to make sure you work with somebody who's saying like, hey, I want you to talk to Felicia. She's an amazing lender. I expect on the other side is like, oh my gosh, you're working with Brent. That guy's the best. Like that's the expectation from that. And then again, that's a conversation you have up front. Y'all, we get contribution from our inspectors at Christmas time to help pay for our Christmas party and our we do our big event is our pictures with Santa Claus. And matter of fact, I think I have that up on Facebook, and I think I'm sharing. This is our Grinch. So we have a Grinch. That is like movie quality Grinch, y'all. This guy is into it. He is a past client. I do not know what that guy looks like in real life. I've only seen him. He worked with an agent on our team. So I know his name is Kevin. It's not Mr. Grinch, but uh, he is awesome, and he stays in character.
Well, hello, Grayson. It's me, the Grinch that stole
I mean,
Christmas. But I'm sorry.
that's it. I'm not gonna show all that, but he is awesome, and the kids love it, and it's such a good event for us. Um, and we're running out of time here, so I'm kind of jumping through. This is something that we give everyone. Anyone can create this. It's not anything special. It's a Sphere worksheet. What we ask agents to do is, hey, week one, just get the first and last name in there, and can you get their phone number? Just start there, and that's going through your phone. You really want to take this, because if we sat there and said, hey, does everyone have their Sphere in their phone? Everyone's like, yeah. Okay. But do you have, and you have their phone numbers? Yeah. Keep your hand up. Do you have everyone's email address? Everyone? Probably not. Do you have everyone's? There's something missing in this birth date. Where's their birth date in this Sphere sheet? That needs to be in there. What's their home address? Are you, because there are so many different services. Again, if you want to get that 495 from your transactions, that's a great way to work with mailers that send them things that you don't. There's handwriting companies that will handwrite it for you using a machine that handwrites for you and handwrites your letters. And it can all these are all things that can be automated. So getting in there and having your Sphere, and what's the last contact date, because again, let's just assume not everyone is a big team and they have all this software and all this stuff at their disposal. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now, but I will say, like Felicia, one thing I'll tell you is that it has always amazed me when I work with lenders how much they rely on the agents to follow up with their past clients instead of the lender going to do that. And it's like, man, there's so many lenders that are so reliant on that realtor relationship to feed them that and I'm sitting there going like, well, why is that? I'm not the only realtor you work with. And I sent you 6 deals a month. That's, 5 deals a month. That's 60 deals. Where are you with following up with these people? Right. And that needs that same check-in. Hey, it's Felicia once a quarter. Hey, it's Felicia so and so, wholesale loan officer, whichever you're with, and just call and see how the heck are you? How's everything going? That's it. That's all there is to it. It is coming from a place of curiosity. How you doing? I still care about you, and you're going to get those refis. You're going to get those. It's a natural thing. And if you have 100 people you've done loans for, there's 100 opportunities to get 100 more every single year and just continuing that. I think that's such a great way to do that. And I truly do have to say that year after year, I see so many loan officers really depend on things like HomeBot and things that they sign people up for that no one cares about. They don't care about this email that says, do you know what your home is worth? I literally just got one from a lender today. And it's like, I just typed in my old office space at Keller Williams from 9 years ago. And he's still sending it to me. I don't care what Suite 100 at Preston Road costs. You're still sending me that. Like, that person doesn't care about me. But there's somebody that says, hey, how the heck are you? I'm checking you out. Hey, I saw so and so. I saw you had another baby. Congratulations. If I'm seeing that, I'm finding their registry myself. I don't ask them what's your registry. I just send them something. Who cares? It doesn't have to be a little $20 thing, but there's budgets. That's where your budget really needs to be. So, and quickly in about 2 minutes, I hate to say this, but in 2 minutes, I'm going to talk on web registration leads because that is where most of our leads come from. We have a website. You need a CRM. A lot of new agents, a lot of people don't have that, so it's tough. But there's CRM, a follow-up system that all costs money. Mine is for a team, so I have to have a certain amount of seats. I spend about $650 a month for Sierra Interactive. That is not a plug for them, but we do like them. We pay another $499 a month for GGMS Marketing Suite, which sends auto texts and emails and does all our campaigns and tries to get them to reply to me. And then our leads probably on Google cost about $10 to $13 a lead. We are now having to add about 10 cents to that to make sure that it is being scrubbed against the do not call registry, and we're verifying phone numbers and emails out of that 10 cents. That's something that hasn't started, but that's through Sierra Interactive. I think with the changes that are happening with the do not call registry, you need to be doing that and be really careful. But all in all, you're looking at between the marketing suite, because what good is a CRM if you're not calling it? And that's another question that people have asked me. Hey, what's your favorite CRM? It doesn't matter. It's the one you use. It's the one you use. And so, but if your CRM has a front end, people love Follow Up Boss. Follow Up Boss doesn't have a front end website, so you have to tie it to something else, which is another expense. So before I even spend $1 on a lead, I'm spending $1,100 a month. Okay, but think about that. It's 2 transaction fees, right? So 2 deals pays for my CRM. And that's how I look at it. It's like, okay, but that is something with Sierra. I could have a lender go in and put his credit card information and it's RESPA compliant because we're both paying 50% of that cost. And I can have a lender pay half of that for me every single month. And that's $300 that they're covering every single month for me. And that's a great reciprocity for that. And they can have a seat in your CRM. And when you get the lead, they get the lead too. Awesome. Cool. But you still, and then by the way, just because you have a CRM and just because you have a marketing suite and just because you want to buy for leads, that doesn't mean you don't have to pay for somebody to manage those leads to be bought for you. There's another $500 a month that I'm paying. So now we're up to $1,500, $1,600 without buying a lead, right? I'm probably spending $4,000 a month in Google leads. we're getting probably 400-ish leads a month. That's honestly way too many right now because we only have like 5-6 agents on our team. But and what do most agents do? They wait for someone to raise their hand and they're not being worked properly. You really don't need to start spending money on that until you have a few other things in place, like you have a co-marketing budget, you have a partner in that, a lending partner, a title partner, whatever it is. You are charging transaction fees. Again, that's something that's very, 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 very easy to do. We rarely get any pushback from any buyers or sellers, and we don't sneak it past them. We tell them about it. It's like, hey, this is the cost of doing business. We have transaction coordinators. We have had VAs before, and we're going back to that, and listing coordinators and sign runners and photographers. And there's a lot that goes into running it, because as a solo agent, you have to wear every single hat. What you need to, what we're talking about doing in a little bit of sense here, is leveraging some of that off your plate. And because if you can do that and you can leverage that time, and you're that agent that's doing 10, 12 deals a year, and you want to take that to 24, you need to leverage your time, because that's going to be a lot more time spent doing the stuff that's important, which is the things that create paychecks. And so, me going and putting a lockbox on a door that takes me an hour to get to, an hour to get back, is not worth my time. That's way worth me paying somebody $130 to go do. Sometimes it's worth my time to go pay another agent $50 to go open a door and let a client in, versus me actually going across town. And as long as I've set the expectation, I can leverage my time to do that too. And that partner model is something that Michael and I use all the time. And we have people open doors for us all the time. So we can do, my job is better spent working on the business. Michael loves to call leads. And that's why it's fun to listen to him say, what were your last 3 deals? He does a lot of leads. He is again, I always say this about him. He's the weirdo that likes to just sit there and make calls all day long. And I don't. I'd rather look at spreadsheets all day long. So I'm a weirdo with that stuff too. I love analytics. So 3 minutes left. I'm going to stop there. I feel like we threw a lot at you, but I hope that people got some value out of this. If you have any questions, you got our emails, and Brent at Brent Germany Team, McCullough at BrentGermanyTeam.com. And yeah, we hope to see you guys on this. And I hope this was useful. And it can be a lot of information overload. What I don't want you to take away from this is like, I need to do that, because then you're trying to do too much and none of it's going to work. What are you doing now? What's one thing I can implement? What's one thing I can do? And you may say more open houses, or you may say I need to get that Sphere worksheet. But if any of you want to ever talk to me or to Michael, or set up time for like a 15-minute one-on-one, we have Calendlies, we have all that stuff. So we're more than happy to do that. Seriously, no strings attached on any of that stuff. So we're just here to help, and we do this every Thursday. So we hope to see you back next week.
Thank you.
You got it. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining. Tune in. Same bat time, same bat channel. Gosh, that aged me right there. Okay. All right. Bye.